This PS1 game could have changed horror RPGs forever. Instead, it vanished, a forgotten experiment that most people never played. Several members of the dev team, including the director, worked on high-profile games for Squaresoft, the famous powerhouse of the JRPG genre. They brought Hollywood motion capture tech and professional voice acting, making the game feel more real and alive than many PS2 games made years later. So what went wrong? How does a game with this much talent and ambition feel like a Kmart Resident Evil? We're gonna get to that, including what I think is the single worst thing I've experienced in any game in the past decade. But first, let's rewind to 1997. Hiroki Kikuta was working as a composer at Square, creating the soundtracks for Secret of Mana and Seiken Densetsu 3. But he was growing frustrated with the JRPG formula, calling it disjointed, juvenile, and stagnant. He wanted to create something with his own unique vision, a mature survival horror action RPG. He didn't have the chance to do this at Square, so he left that year with a handful of other employees to form Saknoth. Fun fact, this is the same year Square released an obscure little game called... So I wonder if they regretted that choice. At Saknoth, Kikuta wore nearly every creative hat. He was the CEO, producer, director, scenario writer, and composer. They quickly got to work on Kikuta's vision and named it Koudelka, named after the protagonist, a young psychic drawn to a spirit's call for help from the Nemeton Monastery in 1898. The game takes place in just one night. Koudelka will meet two strangers with their own agendas. James, a Catholic priest supposedly sent by the Vatican to retrieve an ancient holy tome, and Edward, an adventurer or thief depending on your viewpoint. They'll form an unlikely trio that'll be your party for the duration of the game, while you unravel the monastery's secrets, fight spooky monsters, and try to stay alive. Like I mentioned earlier, the dev team really went all in on this one. The mocap tech they used was bleeding edge. It captured multiple actors simultaneously, giving character interactions unprecedented realism. It was so new that the only other place it was used at the time was a 1998 Godzilla movie. The devs even took a research trip to Wales to study the landscape and architecture, wanting to get the environment just right for their game. Hiroki said he bought over 100 books during his research and took inspirations from Karnaki the Ghost Finder, The Name of the Rose, H.P. Lovecraft, and Lord Dunsany. Koudelka blends survival horror with tactical RPG combat. Think Resident Evil's atmosphere combined with simplified Final Fantasy Tactics-style battles. This cocktail of genres could have been revolutionary and sounds kinda awesome, right? Well, first let's talk about what's great about this game before we unpack all of the bad. The FMV cutscenes are actually fantastic. Sure, they may not hold up to today's standards, but for almost 30 years ago, you really couldn't get any better than this. They have kind of a unique theatrical style that you just don't see too often in games. And the mocap characters really feel alive. They gesture, move around the environment, and attack very fluidly. The voice acting is really solid, despite the PS1's audio limitations. There's a couple of times where it feels a little over the top, especially James.
Just the passing of another day. Oh no, today's All Saints' Day.
But hey, it's a video game, and it adds some character. The dark story and gothic setting really do set it apart from classic JRPGs. The pre-rendered environments are beautiful and set the tone really well. I think Hiroki and the team definitely fulfilled the vision there. My favorite aspect, though, was the characters themselves and how they break a lot of the typical RPG stereotypes. There's no let's all be best friends so we can save the world kind of trope here. There's this persistent conflict and tension within the group. When Koudelka first meets Edward, she considers just leaving him for dead. In fact, for most of the story, she never really seems to warm up to her companions all that much and remains sorta cold and aloof. At one point, Edward just stone cold murders a guy.
What did you do that for?
Granted, that guy tried to kill you first, but he was already beaten and defenseless when Edward just shoots him in the face. And then James just generally acts like a bigot, which he gets called out for by Edward.
Obviously a dirty immigrant thief. Probably infected with cholera or something, most of you are.
None of these characters really feel like heroes, just strangers thrown together by circumstance and their own agendas. And I really liked how real and three-dimensional that made them feel. Outside of the party, there aren't a whole lot of characters to speak of, but you do have this one goofy ghoul you come across named after the real-life Roger Bacon. The voice actor for this guy was amazing, and he had me genuinely cracking up.
Holy Savior! Hello, my name is Raja Bacon. What year is it anyway? Are we still on the Gregorian calendar?
Are you trying to fool me, or are you being serious?
Of course I'm being serious. The clock I own was too big for the coffin.
I want you to tell us whether what's written there can actually happen or not.
Well, let me see. Yes, I see. Oh, that's right. Resurrecting the dead. Ooh, a cauldron.
Other characters of note are the caretakers of the monastery, Ogden and his wife Bessie, who I didn't really care about until it's revealed late in the game that Ogden is a psychopathic axe murderer, and I got this cutscene, which caught me completely off guard and was one of the best in the game.
Stay there! Hey, you! Hey, how's that? Just a lamp? I'll make you just a lamp!
You're crazy!
Shut up!
Honey, let's stop this now. It's time to stop. It's okay. We should stop this conversation now. My husband is waiting. He can be so impatient, you know?
Alright, now let's get into what really dragged this game into obscurity. Combat is turn-based and on a grid, which by itself isn't a bad thing. Final Fantasy Tactics is one of my all-time favorites largely because of this style. So I didn't mind it at first in Koudelka, but holy shit does it wear out its welcome fast. The encounters are random, and it's rare to walk for more than 15 seconds without getting into another fight. For a game that has as much backtracking as Koudelka, this gets really frustrating really fast. And yeah, you can run away from these fights, but even that gets tedious. Still, this wouldn't be so bad if combat itself wasn't extremely slow. Combat animations go on forever, especially many of the bosses who take their sweet time moving and winding up for long attacks. I often found myself finishing my turn and then checking my phone or just staring at the wall contemplating my existence. And yeah, maybe that's more of a me problem, but it doesn't change the fact that this is one of the most heavily criticized aspects of the game. And what's kind of heartbreaking is that this wasn't Hiroki's vision for the combat at all. He wanted it to be more of an action RPG with interactive environments during fights, but it sounds like his staff disagreed with that and they ended up going the safe JRPG route that they knew so well. In an interview, Hiroki admitted that he wished he had been more involved in the game's development and taken the reins when it came to designing the combat. If they just went for a different combat system here, this really could have been a fantastic game. Yet another issue is that your character's stats scale exponentially. And even with running away from a good portion of fights, I found myself insanely overpowered pretty early on and one-shotting most things that got in my way, making the already tedious combat even more of a chore. The art director of the game later said that they had intentionally made the combat easy so it could still appeal to non-gamers. And there went my pride thinking I was just really good at this game. Interactions in the environment often require pixel-perfect positioning. Things like going up and down stairs, picking up items, using objects, just takes multiple tries slightly adjusting your position just right to trigger the action. And then there's the puzzles. For the most part, the puzzles are pretty basic and uninteresting. Some just need you to find all the items, one has you replicating a musical jingle with floor switches. They're not terrible, they're just kind of there. Like the developers knew the game was a little short at 12 hours, so they threw these at you to make it seem longer. Finally, there's the RNG, or the likelihood of certain items dropping. I luckily found just enough armor to cover my party, but some folks have done entire playthroughs without a single piece of armor dropping, and that's kinda crazy. So to recap, excruciatingly slow combat, poor balancing, issues interacting with the environment, boring puzzles, bad RNG, but all this absolutely pales in comparison to the worst moment I've experienced in gaming in the past decade. Let me show you exactly how Koudelka tested my sanity. So to set the stage here, I opted for playing this game without a guide, wanting to discover everything along the way and not ruin the experience. The final act of the game has you set fire to a chapel, and then you climb up a bunch of scaffolding to get to the top where you face the final boss. After mumbling curses the whole time trying to get Koudelka to walk up some goddamn steps, I finally got to the top to be met with this message. And I vaguely remember in the opening of the game that Koudelka loses a pendant that she had. A pendant which I haven't seen mentioned again until right now. This does not bode well. But I go inside anyway, thinking I'll just have a harder boss fight or something. Then I'm met with this cutscene. And that's it. My whole party had their faces melted off and it was game over. Still, I mean, pretty cool cutscene, so I wasn't mad about it. Yet, I just loaded up my one save file and went back in. I figure at this point I need to go find that pendant, right? So I don't get my face melted off like the guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm really not looking forward to the backtracking because I don't know how much it's going to be and I assume it's going to take forever. And I'm kind of feeling done with the game at this point. I get to the bottom of the tower after cursing the whole way down, trying to get Koudelka down the fucking stairs, and I'm met with an invisible wall. Nope, I'm stuck here. Ever the optimist, I think, okay, the pendant's gotta be around here somewhere, right? So I make my way back up the tower, cursing the whole fucking way, trying to get the stupid bag of pixels, step over the other stupid pixels, and I search every nook and cranny and turn up absolutely nothing, with random encounters the entire time. So I go back inside the top floor of the tower thinking, okay, maybe there's a way for me to not trigger that cutscene if I just carefully step around. Now, faces, melted off, game over. Alright, I'll look at a guide. Here's the most recent guide on GameFAQs at 14 years old. Alright, so it looks like you find the pendant somewhere on disc 3, but I'm on disc 4. Be warned, although you can return for the pendant if you happen to have got past this point, once you get to disc 4, you cannot return here. What? So if I didn't pick up this completely missable key item, that's it? I'm screwed? No final boss, no real ending, just this 5-second cutscene? At this point, I'm in the disbelief stage of grief, and I think, nah, that can't be it. So I scroll down and, note, I have been informed that there is an alternative way to get the pendant, if you happen to have missed it. You can fight black cats in this area before triggering the scene, and one might drop a pendant. So I decide to put my fate into the hands of the RNG gods and exterminate every cat I can find with extreme prejudice. And you know what? Still no pendant. At this point, I'm moving into the final stage of grief, acceptance, and just forget that I'd ever even played this game, and that's what I do. For one night. The next day, after ranting much like this to a friend about this garbage-ass game, he very calmly and rationally says, maybe that guide was wrong. Did you check another one? So I calm down a bit, and I check another guide. And another. And another. And all of them say either, hey, don't miss the pendant on disc 3, haha, or fight black cats until it drops. But that can't be the answer, because I already did that. Unless the RNG is just so bad that you have to spin in circles committing cat genocide for hours. So then I go on Reddit. I find the Koudelka subreddit, with a whopping 36 visitors a week, and I try a couple of searches. Pendant. Fuck. Black cat. Fuck. Anyway, I did a lot more searching. Yada yada, I found the answer. Ironically, my search brought me full circle back to GameFAQs, to a post made 12 years ago by Disco Spin. I never picked up the pendant in disc 3 per some of the guides I read. Are you telling me I can't beat the game? Really? Yeah, that's what I said. And then, never mind, found the cat at the secret save on right after the second tentacle fight. There's a secret save? So I go back to the original guide, and sure enough, it does mention a secret save point, and nothing about the cat or the pendant, but hey, I have a lead. I run over there, and sure enough, there's this hidden little spot that, again, you need pixel perfect accuracy to get to, and there's really no way for you to know it's there unless you're just running around spamming the action button. Anyway, fuck you. Oh look, a pendant. Now, I understand there's going to be some Koudelka fans out there that think this is a good decision, to have this obscure, missable key item necessary to get past the face melting scene and on to the end of the game. And the only way to get it if you missed it earlier is an even more obscure method that you're extremely unlikely to uncover for yourself. And to these fans, I gotta ask, what is wrong with you? Anyway, I go back up to the tower, get into a cutscene, and... oh my goodness.
brought him here. If anyone is to go into captivity he will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. I am what I am. I am content with my lot. I have always loved you, Elaine.
This still wasn't the quote-unquote good ending. I guess because James dies, but I never really liked him anyway, and I was really done, so I just rolled with it. This is the ending you get if you lose to the final boss. You have to kill it for the other ending, which was still too difficult for me even though I was one-shotting everything on the way up here, so whatever. I'm not going back and grinding. I was satisfied just to get here, get some closure, and finally put this game to rest. Disco Spen, if you're out there, I love you. I'll forever be in your debt for delivering me from this absolute torment. So, where was I? Oh yeah. Would I recommend playing Koudelka today? No, I wouldn't. And it's really a shame because Koudelka is actually a great game, as long as you never play it. Infro Games, the publisher, called the game moderately successful, but said nothing about its sales figures, and it was completely missing from their subsequent financial report. It had mixed reviews worldwide, praising most of the stuff I mentioned here, and trashing it for a lot of the same reasons I did, besides the whole Black Cat debacle. Dutch magazine Power Unlimited gave it a 6 out of 10 and called Hiroki's music a disaster, which must have been really hard to hear given his successful career as a composer. Hiroki resigned as CEO after the game's release, abandoning the 3 Koudelka sequels he had planned, taking place in Paris, Chicago, and Kyoto respectively. The one silver lining here, though, is that Koudelka proves even flawed art can still inspire greatness. It laid the foundation for the cult classic Shadow Hearts series, which I haven't played yet, but I've heard great things about. If you've played those games, maybe let me know in the comments if I should still play them, given my frustrations with Koudelka. And if you really want to play this game, I'd say use an emulator that lets you fast forward through a lot of it and learn from my mistake. Maybe use a guide. You're probably better off just watching a Let's Play, but you do you. Ultimately, a lot about this that I really did enjoy. It's just a shame that it was ruined by some really poor decisions. If you'd rather watch some videos on a really good game, you can check out my playlist of Expedition 33 videos over here. And if you want to support the channel, like this video and subscribe for more like it. If you're feeling generous, you can also donate at my Ko-fi link in the description. That's it for me, folks. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.